the We Are City channel. I did a vote on the channel not too long ago, maybe last week, talking about do you want to see more football related content in terms of pre-match predictions and so on and things like that, and you guys voted in your numbers. I think about 97% of people said yes, they want to see that. So I am going to try and do for most games, I've been away for 2 weeks, but I am back. I'm going to try and do for most games a pre-match preview and also a post-match sort of review as well after the game. If it's a home game, I'll be at the game. I'll do a review when I come back. If it is, of course, an away game, most of the time I don't go to the away games, then I will do a review on the channel after the live stream where we do commentary on the games as well. So Manchester City versus Arsenal, not a bad way to start things, is it, in terms of doing this sort of content. Big game in the title race. Now, it's very early in the title race, and we don't really know at this point who is going to be in the title race. A lot of people saying, obviously, you expect City and Arsenal to be the two teams going for it. Maybe Liverpool, despite that defeat to Nottingham Forest, could be in there as well. We've seen City lose games early on in the season. It's so early in the season, we can't really predict anything. But we can say this is a big game, and it's a good chance for either side to sort of lay down a marker and say, we are the side to beat this season, whether that is City or Arsenal. Last year when Arsenal came to the Etihad, they parked the bus. They played very defensively, didn't they? That was their plan. Get a point at the Etihad and then go on to win the league. And Rodri mentioned it many times about the mentality of the two sides. He said that City have a different mentality. We knew that Arsenal wanted to draw against us. That was fine, because then we knew if you give us a point, we're going to go and win those last 7 games of the season, as difficult as it may be, and win that Premier League title. And that performance from Arsenal at the Etihad seemed to motivate the City players. That is something Arsenal probably don't want to do today, or tomorrow as it is. We're recording this on Saturday, we'll put this out on Saturday. But this is a big game in the title race, and it's the two biggest teams at the moment over the past 2 or 3 seasons in the Premier League going head-to-head. And I'm going to try and have a look at some of the news around the game, squad predictions and so on, the starting lineup prediction. I'll give you a prediction of my scoreline as well. But at City versus Arsenal, let's get into this pre-match prediction and review. Well, in terms of team news for Arsenal, a big talking point is Martin Ødegaard is going to miss the game. He's probably Arsenal's key creative player, isn't he, in that attacking midfield role. He's a big miss. Got injured on Norway due to done his ligaments in his ankle apparently, and it's looking like maybe 2 months out for Martin Ødegaard. That is a big miss for Arsenal, 2 months out. They have got other quality players to fill in there, but I don't think they have really a sort of creative player like Ødegaard to step into that role. Now Trossard has played there in the midweek games as well, in sort of the attacking midfield role. You could say perhaps they've got Nwaneri, the youngster, only 17 years of age, 16 years of age, to play there. Fabio Vieira's left Arsenal on loan, so they haven't really got that sort of attacking creative play. Think about Manchester City in our circumstance. If De Bruyne doesn't play, then you can say, well, Bernardo Silva or maybe Phil Foden, probably Phil Foden could play in that attacking midfield role. That is something Arsenal perhaps are lacking in squad depth. So the only real big miss for Arsenal will be Martin Ødegaard. He will not play in the game at the Etihad tomorrow. As for Manchester City, our big uncertainty in terms of the squad is captain Kevin De Bruyne, captain the side against Inter in the 0-0 draw in midweek. He picked up a little bit of an ankle injury or something in there in the game, and well, the reports initially said that he was completely ruled out of the game against Arsenal. Pep Guardiola says that we'll see him training today, so we are not exactly sure. Obviously, the press conference of Pep was yesterday, and he said we'll see with De Bruyne, and we're not quite sure, but he expects him to perhaps be in and around the squad, maybe on the bench, but I don't expect to see De Bruyne in the starting 11 tomorrow. I don't think he's going to be there, and it's probably the right decision at his age and the quality of player he is. He's obviously slowing down. I think that is pretty obvious, despite being such a high quality player still. You don't want to start then playing him through injuries, because as you get older, you just don't recover as quickly. We can't be risking Kevin De Bruyne at all. So I think De Bruyne will be rested tomorrow. I think he'll be on the bench. I do think that I won't be shocked actually if he's not in the squad at all, but I expect to see Kevin De Bruyne on the bench. I don't think we should risk him at all, his injury. If this was like 3 games to go in the Premier League season, we need to win it, then maybe you play Kevin De Bruyne. But I think at this stage of the season, there's no reason at all to risk Kevin De Bruyne. Of course, Manchester City Nathan Ake is out injured as well. He did his hamstring on international duty in the Netherlands. He's not in the squad. He won't be around the team. But they're the only 2 big injuries that I can think of that City players that will be without against Arsenal. And in my opinion, the key battle for Manchester City tomorrow will be Haaland versus these two. William Saliba and Gabriel, probably the best defensive partnership at the moment in the Premier League, and maybe last season as well, because City conceded a lot of cheap goals last year. Saliba and Gabriel don't seem to. They seem to always have Timber, or it could be Calafiori on that left-hand side for them at left back, Ben White at right back, David Raya in goal, and then Rice maybe sitting in the 6. or Thomas Partey, whoever. That back line for Arsenal is incredibly strong, and I think Haaland getting the better of Saliba and Gabriel will be a big talking point, will be the key battle in tomorrow's game. If City, Phil Foden can open up those spaces, can create something, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Grealish, Savinho, Doku, we need very creative players in there, picking the passes, creating the chances for Erling Haaland, and then Haaland has got to try and get the better of those two. He's going to be marked probably by 2, maybe 3 at times. I think Saliba and Gabriel will sit on him together. They're going to be very physical, as we know. Both are quite very quick centre-backs as well. Good in the air. They're all rounders, really. Arsenal built a very, very good back line. So City have to be a little bit careful in that circumstance. But I do think that is going to be the key battle in the game going to the Arsenal game tomorrow. Do I think Haaland will get the better of them? I think he will score tomorrow, Erling Haaland. But I'm not sure full game-wise he'll get the better of them, because I've been very impressed with Arsenal's defence. I think it certainly is, at the moment, and probably last year as well, without a doubt, statistically as well, the best defence in the Premier League. Before we get into our predicted lineup, what I think City will go with tomorrow, what Pep Guardiola will go with, I want to mention one player in Rico Lewis, who I thought was not amazing in midweek against Inter, and I am actually predicting he's going to be dropped for this game against Arsenal. I think he's absolutely brilliant, and I want to see Rico Lewis in there. But I do think Pep Guardiola is going to go more conservative, put more of the experienced players in there tomorrow. And with that, I expect Rico Lewis to be dropped. Now, I could be wrong. Pep has a lot of faith in Rico Lewis. I do as well. I think he's absolutely fantastic. But I think in terms of like an out-and-out right-back role, that's not his game. He wants to tuck inside, get in those little pockets of space and pick the passes up. That is his game, you know, those little tiny spaces, turn, pass it, create chances if he can do. Obviously, that's not Kyle Walker's game. City would be way more creative with Rico Lewis on the side. But when it comes to the counter-attack, which Arsenal seem to like to play at the Etihad, you're thinking Martinelli and Saka, really pacey players. Trossard perhaps in there as well. Havertz is quite quick as well. Big man, physical. City need to be careful on the counter. That's how Arsenal are going to play in the transitions. That's the way Arteta's done things at the Etihad for the past few seasons. They tried to play City at their own game a few years ago, play a high line and play attacking, expansive football, and they lost 4-1 in the title race, didn't they, 2 years ago? Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne absolutely destroying that Arsenal side. Last year, Arteta more conservative, and I expect a more conservative approach from Arteta again this time. And maybe you could say, with that conservative approach from Arteta, we should be looking to put more creative players in there, like Rico Lewis, to pick a chance, you know, pick a pass that will open up the Arsenal side because it'll be so deep. But I just think Pep's going to be worried about that counter-attack and Arsenal in the transition. This is my predicted starting 11, and it is a very, very conservative approach. I'm predicting from Pep Guardiola going into the game against Arsenal. Edison will start in goal in my eyes. We're going to go with captain Kyle Walker, Manu Akanji, Ruben Diaz and Joško Vardiol are back four. I think Lewis in for Walker will be our strongest back four in this particular game. What Walker brings against Martinelli, I think Rico Lewis might struggle against Martinelli. I think Walker will come back in, show his experience, especially Rico Lewis playing against Inter. Midfield, I've gone with a very conservative midfield as well. I think Rodri and Kovacic will partner each other with Phil Foden in front. Now, we could see Ilkay Gundogan in instead of Kovacic. That is very much an option as well. My only issue with Ilkay Gundogan being in there is, as Gundogan's got older, he certainly hasn't got any quicker, and I think we lack athleticism in this City side, certainly. And I think with Rodri and Kovacic has a little bit more to his game defensively than Ilkay Gundogan does. But you know what? Gundogan could easily be in there instead of Kovacic, but I just don't think Pep might go with a bit of a defensive change like that. And Kovacic is much better than Ilkay Gundogan in the transition. The fact that he can turn and just drive the opposition, that's something that Ilkay Gundogan, that's not his game. Phil Foden in front, I think he's getting his first start of the season, Phil Foden. With De Bruyne out, possibly on the bench, I think Foden starts. And a very conservative wide areas as well. And we've seen Savinho taking off at half-time against Inter. I think that tells you all you need to know about Savinho. He's come off twice now at half-time. One was due to injury at Chelsea. Last time was tactical against Inter. I do think Bernardo Silva will start this one. I don't think Pep goes into this game without Bernardo Silva in there somewhere. And I do think Phil Foden will start as well. So that means Savinho has to come out. And I do think on the left-hand side, we're going to go with Grealish over Doku. I prefer maybe Doku's explosiveness, but maybe later on in the game, Doku can be a great impact sub in terms of doing that. And we'll start Grealish on that left-hand side. Grealish was good against Inter. I think there seem to be conflicting ideas of how Grealish performed against Inter Milan, but I thought that Grealish was quite good against Inter. Yes, he didn't beat his man every time. That's not his game. But he drew in challenges, and sometimes he did create a few little chances. I think he's probably the most creative player in the pitch for Manchester City against Inter, so he will start. And of course, Erling Haaland, we've got no one else. Erling Haaland will start up top, and that is a bit of an issue here in the squad, I think. If Haaland is ever injured at any point, what do we do then? But I think that will be starting 11. I expect De Bruyne to be on the bench, and he'll come on at some point. Gundogan will come on if he doesn't start. Savinho and Doku, real good impact subs as well off that bench, can bring real exciting abilities in those wide areas to beat a man, to pick a pass, to do something unpredictable in one-on-one situations. I think Savinho really struggled against Brentford, and a few people are complaining, oh, Savinho, he's playing like Jack Grealish, he doesn't beat his man. He had 2 players on all time, you know, it wasn't in one-on-one situations. Now, Arsenal, if they do push those wingers forward, City could be in one-on-one situations, but don't be surprised to see Gabriel Jesus start on the left-hand side for Arsenal tomorrow, and plays like a left wing-back alongside Calafiore, Geraint Timber on that left-hand side, and then Saka playing like a right wing-back alongside Ben White on the far side. That's the way Arteta seems to do things. He's getting called the Spanish Tony Pulis for things like that, the former Stoke City manager, and he will do that, I think, at the Etihad tomorrow. I do not expect Arsenal to come to the Etihad and try and win. If they do, credit to them, and if it goes well, then they deserve it. But if they come part the bus and try and play the counter, that might still work, but that does make you feel like you are an inferior opponent. Let us know in the comments down below what your score predictions are. Mine is a 2-1 win for Manchester City. I think City are going to win 2-1. That is my prediction. Let us know in your comments down below your predictions. Let us know as well your predictions for the starting 11. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think Gundogan's in for Kovacic? That's the only one that I question, actually. But I do think Bernardo will start on that right-hand side. And also, get ready for tomorrow. We will do a review of this game. We will do player ratings and so on. Just talk about the game as well, and I want to do more of this type of content on the channel. It's a big game, excited. I will be at the Etihad for City versus Arsenal. Come on, City.